Hello everybody! Welcome back to another Shadowverse Rolls Beyond video. And today I got something spicy for you guys since the new set is about to release. As of posting this video, expected to be released around like 7-9 hours from posting this video probably. Hopefully earlier because I'm really excited for this new expansion. And with that said, since they have released and also like allowed us to make decks right now in the deck portal on the website, I decided to come up with 7 decks for every single class. So yeah, one each. Yeah, one deck for each. I tried my best as much as possible to make viable decks that you can try out with the new cards, right? And I tried my best to make sure that it's, somewhat playable at least on paper. So yeah, like I think you guys know why I said that part is basically because, dragon cards, Meg and all that. But yeah, let's get right into it. Right? We'll start with Jerry OTK. Now, you guys probably know about this. Some of you guys probably call it like the Miracle Dragon or something. Yeah. So it's like its entire game plan is about ramping into Fenny, and then after you've fennied your deck, you want to draw, and then you evolve Jerry, you play Cocytus, and then you play Tablet, right? Now, with the recent addition of this card called Zoe, getting to like Fenny is gonna be more consistent now because you can gain one max play point, right? Like basically we have a new ramp card, right? We have 3 ramp cards, right? Alongside that, they also added a card called Graningita, Dancho, basically, right? Like which is a very flexible card because not only can it evolve itself, assuming enough turns and evolves has happened, it can also be a form of removal and can also be card draw, right? And I decided that, yo, if that's gonna be the case, and Zoe's enhanced stat effect can like stall out the game, right? Except of course, like fighting into Bernite Crest and all that, yeah. But those are very niche things that can counter Zoe. But my point is, like it's gotta be more consistent to stall and pull off the Fenny, like the Fenny Jerry OTK combo. So yeah, this is the cards that I decided to go with. Right, you can also play Lyria here if you really want to draw like Fenny. Just do know Lyria can also draw your Cocytus, and if you draw both of your Cocytuses before you draw your Fenny, you're probably in a losing position. So yeah, it's not that cheap. So like probably if you're like hesitant to try out like a dragon, right? Just because like they have a new ramp card, probably hold off on that, right? Until you get like free copies of your Zoe when you do your pulls. So yeah, I think it might be a tier 2 to tier 1 deck depending on how fast the meta is. If the meta is fast, then Jerry OTK might be somewhat of a niche deck. But if the meta becomes really slow, I actually see this deck being like scary because on high roll, this can actually OTK faster than Kok Decline and faster than Izulia. So yeah, that's really interesting. Let's move on to the next deck, which is Evolve Midrange Forest. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Nero, you're crazy, right? Why are you making an Evo mid-range forest deck when there's like other decks that you can try? Maybe like adding more cards to Roach or maybe improving the Izuria deck. Simple because of this one interaction. All right. So as you can see at Congregant of Killing, it says when this card enters the field, this is not a fanfare. When this card enters the field, summon an exact copy of it and give the exact copy 0, 1, -1. So, why is that very important? Well, Yuel's Crest is a crest that once on each of your turns, when you play a follower, evolve it. And if we learn anything from the term exact copy, that means that if you have the crest and this Congregant of Unkilling is played, you will evolve it and then it will copy 4 copies of it, up to 4 copies of itself that are also evolved versions of it. So that's a lot of stats, that's a lot of value. That's gonna force out really hard removal from somebody, from like your opponent, So I thought that was a really cool interaction. Now, another thing that I was interested of course, is if the evolves count for like the SBA, because if it does, that's 5 evolves for one card, which means suddenly Sandalphon becomes a really consistent way of winning the game. Remember, if you manage to reach SSBA, this card will do 10 damage to the enemy side, which can also hit face. All right. So, what type of cards did I decide to bring with this game plan? I decided to bring, like, of course, Vern, right? Because it self evolves. Also, 2 mana 2/2 is not bad to bring. I brought Lyria because Lyria, if you can see the deck, there's only one card that's above 7 cost, and that is the Congregant of Unkilling. So I wanted to guarantee getting Congregant every game because that's gonna be like what I center my game plan around. Now, the cards that I'll be playing before we get to that Congregant turn will be like cards like Comet Drive, because whenever there's an evolved follower in the field, I'll be able to draw a card and also deal 4 damage to it. So this is like kind of like the bear card, but the difference is, since I can't do combo tree because of how my deck is structured, this is gonna be a better, like, a 2 mana removal card for me. This is gonna be like in charge of dealing with any pesky, like a big units on the board. I'm also going to add like Alfemer. I'm actually considering running 2 of this because of this flexibility. It can be heal and draw. It could be like a punish, right? Let's say a board sticks, you can give +1 to everything, and that's massive, right? And you can also give everything on the board +1 more health and ward. So yeah, that's really strong in my opinion. So I decided to put like the spell as well. I decided to put 2 Grimners because I wanted to play with Cruel, or like I want to make use of Cruel's like a super evolved, like the entire like a super evolved Cruel, and then like suddenly you have this ambush super evolved unit that's gonna be annoying to deal with, right? And I made use of Kupitan over here as well, right? Whenever you evolve this follower, right? Whenever you evolve this follower, deal 1 damage. So it's gonna deal with stuff like barrier and stuff, right? And if you manage to if you can like normal evolve this as well, and it won't matter as much. It also can be like affected by, of course, the UL crest, right? You get to evolve Kupitan like that for free. You can also use Olivia, right? If you want like more cardio and to super evolve Kupitan, the effect will also go off if you use her that way. All right. So I also, of course, added Grand. Grand is just like one of the best cards right now in the set. I'm gonna just be perfectly honest, because it's a card that can evolve itself. It's a card that can be a 5 damage removal on curve, and it could also be card draw. Right. It's like legit like a plug and play card for almost any deck in the game. Right. So thank God this is not a legendary, because it would have been way more expensive to craft the new versions of the decks. Yeah, if it was. So yeah, so shout out to Shy Games, I guess. All right. I also added like a one of Chloe, and if you're curious, what is Chloe gonna be for here, right? If you read the effect, it says enhance 8, select a follower in your hand and summon it, right? And then return this to your card. Now, what does this do for this deck? You can play an 8 mana Congregant with this card, and that means that frees up 2 mana. And what happens when you're freed up 2 mana? You have like more turns that you're gonna be able to do bug alert flip, so you can play more Congregants, and then you might be able to like play like this card as well with your Congregants. So you're like, oh Nero, what if you just get board wipe over and over again? Then what's the win con? Sandalphon, right? I think you're gonna be better off making an Izudia deck with this like core, but I just thought that it was really funny to like try out a mid range evolve like a deck, because that's kind of like the theme of the set, right? I decided to like throw a curveball for Forest, and if it doesn't end up working well, I mean I can just like swap a bunch of cards and add Izudia on it. So yeah. All right, next deck I'm gonna show you is Earthright Rune. I decided to go with Earthright Rune because the spell boost deck doesn't really change as much, and also Wamdus isn't that strong of a card, sadly. So I decided to go with Earthright, and I actually think this might be viable. As you can see over here, right? Like we have a bunch of self-evolved cards. Edelweiss, as you remember, is a self-evolved card, right? Like Gran, self-evolved card, Vern, self-evolved card. Now this is where it becomes like massive, right? This Mirel and Reset card are two evolves in one because you summon a copy of them, and then like they also self-evolve. That means you have a 5 mana, like a five double 5/5s with rush without evolving. So it progresses your SSBA, and it also like gives you a strong board, right? And you might be wondering, yo, how do I get this off consistently? Of course, like you can play cards like Perfumer. Maybe if you don't have dirt, you play Perfumer, evolve it, you get 2 dirt that way. Cagliostro on Fanfare already gives like 2 sigils. And of course, like there's this card as well that's really, really good. It does 4 damage. It's a targeted 4 damage, no RNG. And you gain Earth Sigil. And not only that, on SBA, not SSBA, that's important, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. So it's a form of burn, it's a form of clear, and it's also a dirt generator. So that's a really high value card. So I decided to put that in times 3, easy clap, right? Then I decided to put Sandalphon as well because we're gonna need to end the game at some point, right? We can't just like uh print value. We also want to be able to like secure the game once we get to that state where we force out resources from them. We are our early to mid game is gonna be more value stats wise, right? And the fact that we're playing on curve all the time, as you can see, the curve is really sweet, right? And you will be saying, oh wait, you don't have a turn 3 play. Don't worry, turn 3 play is very simple. Typically you just want to play a 2 drop and then pump dirt. That's how like Earthright plays anyways, right? And if you get to play a coin Norman or something, that's gonna be really nice as well, right? Because Norman, as we all know, is a really strong card, double barrier golem, and then if one of them survives, you get to smack them in the face for 8 because Remy Ram is also in this deck. And since Remy Rami evolves 2 things on the board similar to Olivia, right? Like you're also gonna speed boost your SSBA with that. All right, so I removed 1 copy of Odin from the original deck. I was thinking like, oh, maybe I should run 2 sandal fonts instead of 1, right? And I also took 1 copy away from Leland Tim because I think that it's more important to secure an early to mid game advantage and then just like finding ways to finish off the game with maybe Cagliostro SSBA, right? Sandalphon SSBA, right? And like the Leland Tim Super Evolve is just gonna be annoying for them if you are in that spot where you get to use her comfortably. So yeah, there's a way to actually play Earth right now that isn't just reliant on snowballing with an unchecked Leland team. There's ways to play like Earth right now without having to just, pray that you curve Edelweiss, right? There's other options now to outvalue an opponent. So that's nice, right? Like, will this be a surefire thing that's gonna be like good in the ladder? We'll see, man. But like I said, like I just made this deck based on like what I assume could be viable. Meta is of course a different thing, right? Like if you guys want meta decks, like I will make a separate video for that. But right now I want to highlight more the new cards and or like new archetypes that I managed to like make for this new expansion. So yeah, like we're halfway there. We have Storm Amulet, really nice. Storm Amulet is gonna be very, very fun. Not only is it cheap, because as you can see, it's only 19k, and the only legendary here is Odin. Yeah, and it will be wow, that's pretty cheap. I should craft that, or I should try that. You are gonna be able to try this basically for free, I think. I decided to play the awe inspired card because it's a 0 mana amulet. And you're like, wow, why is a 0 mana amulet important? Is it because you get draw from it? Oh, it uses mana. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters here is it's an amulet. And if you manage to have this amulet, or if you have those turns where you have an amulet, let's say you have a dark haven grace, and it's turn 5, and then you draw this and you have, let's say, an Agnes, suddenly you have a way to activate Agnes without like, without like needing an extra play point. So that's really convenient. Another card that I brought into this like deck that's new is Tico, because every time you like engage, you heal, but it's not even about that. The healing is whatever for me. The thing that's important for me is actually like the fact that it's a 1 mana 0/4. And you might be saying 1 mana 0/4, that's whatever. Yeah, but like if I play Tico into Darkhaven Grace, this Tico is gonna be very scary in terms of it's a fat like a unit on the field, and it could potentially snowball. All right, like that and Manu together with the Dark Heaven Grace in early game might be problematic for some like crafts to deal with. But hey man, like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it works, hey, maybe I'll even times 3 it. All right. So next card that I decided to put is like Tro. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Tro, eh? He's a storm like card that whenever you engage an amulet, you give it drain. Now, this is important because if you're in this situation where, let's say, an opponent is out tempoing you in the early game and you're just playing amulets, this could be a way to like heal back up, right? You buff this, you hit the face, or like you hit something else, and then like you heal back up, and yeah, like you just like want to pile up your advantage, and it's nice to be able to have like a lot of amulets right now to play with. So cards like these are easy to activate now compared to before. And the most important amulet here is this one. So the Skyfaring Vessel, it activates in the hand. Whenever you engage an amulet, reduce this card's cost by 1. So if you engage this card, you select an unevolved ally from the field and evolve it. It's a free evolve. So what's so awesome about this? It's the fact that you can make this a 0 cost card, right? You can make this a 0 cost card and have very, very strong and valuable swingy turns. All right. So this entire deck is probably gonna be reliant on birds, right? It's gonna be reliant on birds. It's gonna be reliant on Agnes, and as a finisher, you have your Odin and your like Griffin, right? Just remember that the cup is over here in case you get situations where you can't like pierce the board. For example, Norman boards, right? And then like maybe if they play a Norman board, maybe you can like pop an amulet, right? Or you time it with an amulet pop, and then you super evolve that unit. If it's a bird, you can hit the face and you can wipe the board while hitting the face with this. Any board is wipeable with this, as long as it's not wards that have the effect of cannot be destroyed like Axia. So yeah. Is this gonna be a meta deck? Probably not, but it might be a fun deck to try out in the first few weeks for Havencraft in case like you're tired of Crest or you're tired of Ward, right? Because I think those two decks are gonna be really good. This is the deck that I would be like go and say like, oh, this might be a fun deck to try out while everybody else is trying out like their decks, because it could like abuse the fact that their decks aren't good yet or their decks aren't consistent yet. So yeah. All right, moving on. We also have Belial OTK. So Belial OTK is like probably gonna be similar to an Izulia deck, right? Initially thought that this card was bad, but then I looked at the cards around it. I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense that this could work. All right. So I put a bunch of cards that can work on curve for both building a board, self-evolving, and drawing. But because like since this is not like mode abyss, like it doesn't have a lot of draw. I did use like screaming and loading here because I was thinking I need a card that's a removal and also a deck thinner. And this card is basically you thin your deck by 2 as long as you play it. It kills like most 3 to 4 drops in the game. So I think this is a card that might still find value in this. You can also play Baal if you wanna be more aggressive. Baal is a good card for this deck too, because I decided to go with the 1 drop, right? I decided to go with the Malice. I'm not playing with Serb, so reanimate 1 doesn't get ruined. And you actually want the reanimate 1 for the cards that I'm bringing for this deck. I'm bringing Fediol, It has reanimate 1. I'm also bringing Charon, which also has reanimate 1. Now, you might be thinking, yo, why did you bring Charon? Isn't Charon like not that good of a card anymore? Like, yes, for the previous set, but in this set, I actually think it's nice. Now, let me explain. All right, you can play your Fildao, and Fildao can combo with Satyr on turn 5. You can evolve your Fildao, and you can play Satyr alongside it on turn 5, and you'll get 2 evolves. So that's 2 SBA procs, right? That helps your Belial speedrun. Another thing is, of course, if your Fildao dies in the early game and you want to be able to destroy the board again, right? You can play Charon with that as well, right? It can also reanimate 1 and print Ghost. And all this Ghost that you're getting for free, you can use that with Mukad. And since your deck doesn't have as much card draw, right? Doesn't have as much card draw as like the Mode Abyss deck, you're gonna be able to dump a bunch of ghosts with your remaining mana, assuming that you don't have an ideal like card to play at a certain turn. Right? Another thing that you can do is play those ghosts or skeletons that you get from Sway or like Malice or anything that sticks with Nehan. And what Nehan does is it evolves everything on the field, and it has Drain as well, since it evolves like all unevolved allies horrors on the field. Right? It doesn't say other, it says all. So Nehan also evolves you heal for 4. So that's great. Right? You have healing, you have cardio, you have removal, right? You have like Mukan as well for the Norman, for the barrier boards like Norman and stuff, right? And you have a lot of value, though if you've noticed it, like this is a lot of it is just removal. There's no, it doesn't look like it looks to hit the face, and the reason why is our win con is actually Belial itself. And if you manage to speedrun the SSBA, we can get this crest where the last word effect is deal 20 damage to the enemy leader. And every time we play another Belial, we can clear the board because it does 10 damage to all other followers, right, including yours, because you can keep like just playing another copy of Belial, and you can even play to super evolve it as the finishing blow, right? So another thing that I can add here, by the way, like if you guys want to take it in against Havencraft, you can run the new card called Corruption, because that's the only way to stop like barrier, right, effects, the barrier to the face effect, to prevent the 20 damage lethal, right? Like a Forest doesn't have that with Izulia, but Abyss has it. So you're gonna be able to prevent that, like prevent them from barriering your lethal with that card if you want to take it in. If you're gonna take it in, I suggest maybe replace like one copy of Screaming, or maybe one copy of anything that doesn't contribute to evolving. So yeah, like a Ginsetsu is here for like stalling, because like I said, it will play similar to the Nizuya deck. So all you have to do is like stall. So yeah. Will this be a good deck? I don't know. Like I said, right? Like this is all in theory, right? This is all on paper. But I think if I were to bet, this deck alongside Jerry OTK might actually be in the, well, might end up in at least tier 2 to tier 3 bare minimum, because of because the game slows down typically mid season. So decks like this might actually see play for competitive, or at least for ladder. So yeah, 2 decks left, and we have Artifact Portal. Hey yo, we haven't seen Artifact Portal in a while, and you might be wondering why the hell am I making an Artifact Portal deck for this set. And it's very simple. They introduce cards that help out Artifact a bunch. All right, so one of those cards is Isaac, and this is basically 2 mana, 2/2, 2 parts. You're like, oh, 2 parts? It gives you an entire striker. Instead of just like, oh, 2 mana, you get like 1 part. Nah, man, this guy is not messing around. 2 mana, you get like 2 parts. Of course, it's a last word, meaning it can get punished or it can be silenced, right? But the fact of the matter is, like, this card gives you so much value. And hell, you can even play this card even on a non-artifact deck, just because you can play Isaac turn 2 into Striker turn 3 with just 1 card. So another card that I added, of course, is Cassius. Cassius is really massive for Artifact because it's a board clear that doesn't need an evolve. You just select an artifact and then like it will do the damage based on its attack power. And you might be asking, yo, what if I don't want to like fuse into a complete artifact yet? Just use a striker, because a striker's attack is 5, and the maximum like attack you can get from an artifact is 5, unless you are using Cassius with Gundam in your hand. But yeah, that's a different like that's a very niche situation. And yeah, it's really fun. I also decided to add Luo here because Luo will be able to stall out like decks that abuse Storm, like Sword, right? Or Storm Dragon. I'll be able to stall them for 2 entire turns, right? As a tech card. For other matchups, this is probably going to be just a card that I play on curve for removal, right? Let's say they're an OTK deck, right? I'm probably just gonna use this for tempo removal because it's a 5 mana 6/6. Velvet, it's an 8/8. So yeah, that's really insane. So the rest of the deck is very like the same, of course, like Grand Ninjita. Yeah, like you're gonna see a lot of Grand Ninjita this set, I bet. It's just that good of a card, guys. So yeah. Alright, and the last deck that I'll be showing to you guys is going to be Midrange Sword. And Midrange Sword was kind of hard to make. I have a lot of, like, when I did this on stream earlier, there was a lot of opinions on how I should build it. There was a lot of, like, philosophies clashing on how you should build it. My version of, like, a Midrange Sword is probably going to be something like this, where I play very similar to the old set, but I decided to put like an out win con alongside it. Of course, since you have since you have like Gran and Jita and Zeta, right, and Seophon, like contributing to the SBA, and also like having evolves, like free evolves and all that, right, and like a free removal and free rally for like Zeta, for example. I decided to like pair it with some of the old cards like Gildaria, like some of the old cards like Luminous Magus and Amalia for mid range. So we can like build rally and build evolve, right, at a decent pace, right? Whether or not that's gonna be fast enough for one or the other will depend probably on how well we can curve into the upcoming meta. All right, and another card that I decided to add here is, of course, the Golden Knight. The Golden Knight is really strong because you can use this as a board wipe. You can use this for heal, meaning you're not obligated to run Olivia anymore for healing and stuff like that, or like Lyria, right? Lirala, I mean, right? You're not gonna be obligated to run those cards anymore just to have a form of healing. And on Enhanced 9, you get all of these effects in one. That's kind of insane, right? On Enhanced 9, like I would say, like low key better than Gildaria, right? But uh Gildar is gonna be a cheaper like a free evo when you get to the point of like 20 rally. So yeah, like you get there of course with your typical cards we used back then. You have your Prim, you have your like Luminous Lance Trooper, you have your Luminous Magus, you have your Zirconia. All right, I just did this half and half because I think the game plan here is to like grind somebody out until they can't answer a board, and when they can't answer a board, of course you try to punish as hard as you can. You also have Knightly Ardor for that if you want to punish somebody for not clearing your board. And of course, we have like Albert for that as a finisher. So yeah, like very grindy deck. It has a decent amount of draw. It also has Sandal Fawn as a one-off because it can deck thin. And if the game goes late, of course, you get to play this 6 mana, 10 damage to the face, baby, without any evolves. So yeah, that's my take on mid-range like sword, and that would be it for the decks that I will be covering today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about these decks, and what craft are you excited for in the upcoming expansion like Skybound Dragons. All right, let me know what you guys think about that. And yeah, like I'll be streaming once the update comes out, hopefully if I wake up early because I'm from Asia and haven't slept yet. So yeah, like I'm gonna see you guys on the next one, and expect another video, probably like a bunch of decks that's covering meta stuff. But for now, hey, let's have fun, everybody. First week is for fun. All right. Okay, I'm gonna see you guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.